All right, let's dive right into this explainer and crack open a pretty fascinating psychological mystery. We're going to look at exactly why our shelves, and let's be totally honest here, our nightstands too, are just packed with books we eagerly buy but literally never seem to read. It's this incredibly common phenomenon that almost everyone experiences, and the science behind it, it's genuinely captivating.
So, tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever bought a whole stack of brand new books, fully intending to read them, but then they just sit there? You bring them home, you promise yourself, okay, I'm absolutely starting chapter 1 tonight, and yet weeks go by. Those beautiful new books just collect dust on the shelf while we end up, mindlessly scrolling through our phones instead. While the good news is, psychology tells us this is absolutely not about you just lacking discipline or being lazy. Actually, it's this deeply complex, hidden battle happening right inside your head. It's a tug of war involving how your brain processes rewards, how you view your personal identity, and the very real conflict between the person you currently are right now and the person you desperately want to become.
Part 1. The Premature Dopamine Hit.
Let's start with our first hidden culprit. We're talking about something called the dopamine of intent. Now, you might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, for the human mind, just the anticipation of learning something, the mere intent to become a better version of yourself, often feels way more exciting than the actual reality of sitting down and doing the hard work. Your brain literally gets a premature reward system hit simply from imagining the potential of learning.
Here's how it plays out in real life. Step 1, you spot that shiny new book. Step 2, your mind instantly creates this highly rewarding future scenario where you're smarter or maybe more successful. And because our brains can actually get emotionally attached to imagined experiences almost as strongly as real ones, step 3 kicks in, a false sense of progress. Boom, you get that dopamine hit. You feel like you've actively improved yourself instantly before you've even flipped to page 1.
Part 2. Books as identity labels.
Okay, so over time, psychology shows us that we actually attach our personal identity to everyday familiar objects. Just like a house holds the history of a family, a simple bookshelf stops being just a piece of wooden furniture. It completely transforms. It becomes this physical storage space for your emotional memories and, maybe more importantly, for all your future aspirations. It's literally a display of the person you hope to become.
By proudly displaying those unread books on a shelf, you're essentially creating a visible label of who you want to be. They broadcast to everyone who visits, and honestly, they broadcast to yourself that you are an intelligent or a curious person. And here's the kicker. For your brain, maintaining this visual identity as an intellectual often feels far more important and honestly a whole lot easier than putting in the genuinely uncomfortable effort required to actually read the material.
Part 3. The Exhausted Experiencing Self.
Think of it like a daily, ongoing battle between two totally different versions of you. On one side, you have your planning self. This is the optimistic you who happily purchases the book and genuinely desires that uncomfortable growth. But on the other side, you have your experiencing self. This is the you who, after a brutally long day of work and responsibilities, is just completely, utterly exhausted.
So why does the exhausted version usually win? Well, your cognitive energy is actually a highly limited resource. Deep reading requires what psychologists call cognitive flexibility. It takes work. But when your nervous system is fried from carrying too much stress all day, that cognitive flexibility is literally the very first thing to go. So while your mind still really wants the dream of the book, your tired body shifts into survival mode. It actively starts seeking the absolute easiest, most immediate rewards it can find, like resting, binging TV, or just scrolling social media instead of tackling intense mental effort.
Part 4. Trapped in the mental world.
You see, a lot of us dream in these broad, abstract ideas, like, I want to be a really well-read person. Talking about books, researching them, buying them, all of that happens internally or in these tiny, short little bursts. It feels like active progress, doesn't it? But actually, it keeps the dream safely locked away in the mental world. And here's the danger. The longer a goal stays strictly in your mind as just a plan, the more disconnected it becomes from your actual physical behavior. Your mind feels totally inspired, but your body receives absolutely no command to actually sit down and read.
And here's a wild twist. Your brain actually prefers what feels familiar and safe. When you look at a new book, your brain doesn't just see a stack of paper. It sees the potential to completely change your life. But reading might challenge your deeply held beliefs, or it might just require a ton of serious effort. Because our brains are biologically hardwired to seek out comfort, they often find it way safer to just leave the potential of that book sitting untouched on the shelf. rather than facing the intense reality of actually reading it.
Part 5. Collecting possibilities, not paper.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, buying books you don't read definitely doesn't mean you aren't smart. And it absolutely 100% does not mean you've failed. More often than not, this habit just means your mind is looking for a safe escape. It's a very human way to satisfy your emotional needs and softly prepare for a future version of yourself, a version you maybe just aren't quite ready to step into yet.
I absolutely love this quote. You aren't just collecting paper, you are collecting possibilities. You are literally collecting the person you hope to become. And simply recognizing that your brain is just out there chasing that dopamine of intent, that is incredibly powerful. Understanding this pattern is the very first vital step toward finally moving those dreams out of your mental world and turning them into real, actionable habits in your daily life. So I want you to take a look at your own bookshelf today. Ask yourself which future version of yourself is waiting patiently on those shelves, and what is one small, tiny step you can take today to finally go meet them. If you got something out of this explainer, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because once you truly start to understand how the mind works behind the scenes, you're going to begin noticing hidden things about yourself that most people never even think about. Thanks so much for learning with me today.